Morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night. Welcome to the Gaelic Gridiron podcast. Wherever you are listening or watching, thank you for joining us. Thank you to our returning listeners, and thank you to all our new listeners who have just subscribed to the podcast as well. We've had a great influx of subscribers over the past couple of days and weeks, so you're all very welcome. My name is Jimmy English, the host of the Gaelic Gridiron podcast, and we have a very, very special episode in store for you today. Joining me is the man, the president of the International Federation of American Football, the driving force behind the growth of the game in Europe and on this side of the Atlantic in general, and around the world, of course, globally, Pierre Trochet. Pierre, you are very welcome. Thank you for being here.
Hi, Jimmy. Thanks for having me, and hello to all the great fan of football in Ireland.
Pierre, you mentioned before we came on, you're on your way to Paris for the Euroflag, the European Flag Football Championships. And we're going to touch on flag football, obviously, throughout our conversation because it is gaining massive traction, not only in Europe, but around the world, which is great to see. So definitely an important area of focus for our listeners as well. I know a lot of flag football players tune in. Before we get stuck in, Pierre, though, I'd love to talk a bit about your background and how you became, how you got into the position of president of the International Federation of American Football.
Well, first of all, I'm a player. I have to say now I was a player. I still believe I can, but I'm probably a bit too old for that now. But no, I played for a while. I come from a small city in the center of France called Châteauroux, which was a former NATO base, which was obviously linked to some kind of a American vibe in the 50s and 60s and so on. And so I pick up the sports because of my family, because of my father, which with my uncle was running the local club. And it was a way for me to, as a kid, to stick with my father. He was traveling a lot during the week, so I intend to spend as many time as I could over the weekend. So I was always in his leg, watching those big guys with 80s helmet and shoulder pad and so on. So I was like, yeah, that's kind of cool. It looked good. And then in summer 92, watching basketball, which is my first love. We watched the Dream Team, and obviously that basketball kind of blow up in the face of everybody over the world, and Jordan and Bird and so on. And my father was like, "Hey, you are a big kid." As I was from his offensive lineman, so I'm categorized in a big person, and he said, "Hey, you need to play football because by the time you grow up, maybe you'll be at the Olympics." That's the beginning of the story. This is true. This is a fact. And then I started to play flag a little bit when I was a kid, and then obviously playing basketball a lot. But then at some point moving to football only. And I was just super lucky that football obviously means a lot for me because I met some of my best friends still nowadays. Instead of having a student job, I was playing football. I made my master thesis about football education for officials back in the day. So I have a very special link to the sports, and I started to work. Obviously, I started to work as a professional in soccer, but then moving back to football and helping the growth in France. And obviously things going well. Winning the European Championship in 2018 with Team France was kind of a great momentum of the administrator career, early stage. And then it was an opportunity for me, pushed by European fellows, to bring IFAF into a new energy, and with bigger goals. And I'm very proud, and I'm very humbled to serve as a president of IFAF since December 21. And as everybody have known now, we are very proud to present an Olympic sports in LA and to witness the fantastic growth of flag football all over the world. Like as a kid that catch up the games by just watching TV, now seeing kids all over the world in India, in the Fiji, and in Nigeria, in Chile, and everywhere, just grabbing a ball and having that vision of, hey, I want to be I want to play football. I want to become an NFL player. Now I can become an Olympian and so on. It's just such a pride that we need to give back to our entire community for that. But it's a fantastic position to be, for sure.
I can definitely relate to that. I think a lot of people listening from my generation certainly know that what we have now is a luxury with the amount of American football media that is available. Because when I was growing up watching the sport, it was just highlights on YouTube or on NFL.com. there was very little live coverage, very little, you're able to actually see live. So it is fantastic. Pierre, how do you think your experience as a player and growing up with the sport, being an offensive lineman, playing flag football, has that kind of given you a unique edge in your role as president of the governing body globally of American football?
I mean, that will talk to probably the people that will listen to us, but it's a matter of I relate a lot of my football background to how we deal with business and sports governance nowadays. Obviously, being an offensive lineman, you're an important part of the mix, but you're not the one under the spotlight. You're here to protect the quarterback. You're here to make some gap opening for your running games. Obviously, I was a big fan of the running games, but you're not the one catching touchdown. You're not the one, you're not the quarterback. You're not the receiver. So that feels the sense of the whole line is for me kind of the position that hold everybody together. And I try to translate that in how we do business, like team first, being innovative, being creative, and ultimately the luck I had on a very, very humble level, but being a part of international games in Europe in tackle football or witness the growth of the sports, give you a sense of duty and doing this for always for the next generation. And that's why opportunity that arise. Obviously, we had the last European Championship in Limerick, so it's interesting to move now from Limerick to Paris, but the global media interest, the creation of global superstars, the Pro Bowl moving to flag, the NFL integration into everything we do. Obviously, the most significant, the IOC recognition and the integration in the LA Olympic for the beginning of our Olympic stories. All of that for me translates to more kids playing and translate to us getting hold to higher standards as fast as we can. It's a very fast growing momentum, right? So it comes with sometimes some pain when you grow too fast over a summer. You could feel your knee that are cracking a little bit, but you have to keep hold and you have to getting through it. All of that makes sense. This is important to make sense in what we do, basically in why we're doing it, and then what we are going to do and how we're going to do it. It's very important, and I think I am talking from my experience. I'm very happy that my background as a player, as a national governing body administrator, and now having the responsibility and the duty of the international federation, I can relate to people that we actually impact on the field in picking up a football, in joining a competition, in moving from basically building an Olympic pathway and so on. I can relate to all of that, even though I wasn't as agile and fast to play flag. Where I would have been a very poor receiver in flag football. Like they would have created a position called a slow receiver for me, maybe. But all of that makes sense, and it's very, very important in that position. And I hope that, I'm sure, but I still hope that it makes sense for everybody that play our great game all over the world.
So you obviously, the next big competition for IFAF is the European Flag Football Championships in Paris, which are coming up imminently now in a few weeks. What are some of the other major kind of initiatives that IFAF has their sights set on or are in the pipeline? I know I read online about the Flag Football Continental Championships in 2026. And then obviously, you're looking towards LA in 2028. So what are some of the kind of, I suppose, major things that are in the pipeline for you guys?
Well, when you look again at it, every year for the last 5 years have been exceptional. We always had momentum. So this year, obviously, it's a continental year. It's very busy. We started in June with a fantastic first ever African Championship in Cairo. Kenya, Cameroon, Egypt, Tunisia, like Morocco, playing for the first time in an international competition. Fantastic to witness. Very proud of that moment. Then we moved to the World Games. Like, the story of flag football in the Olympics started in 22 in Birmingham. Then we were in China for the first time ever. Fantastic performance from Team China. Really great performance of the teams in general. The LOC in China have been fantastic. The federation announced 5 million players in China in the next 5 years, like 1 million players per year. Like this is huge momentum for the region. Obviously heading to usual very great performance from Mexico, USA, Canada, Austria, Japan. Like everybody was in the mix, and now we are just a week away from the European Championship, record-breaking edition, 43 national team registered. We already have over the line of 4,000 tickets sold for the competition. It's a record-breaking because it's the first time we have commercial activity around ticket sales. There's an unprecedented movement from sponsors, from broadcast. This is again fantastic to witness, and great congratulations to the team that works very hard on site. But it's also how we want to build the event. It's a full wraparound celebration that is very unique to flag football. Obviously, you're a football fan. I see you're Notre Dame, so you know tailgating and so on. So we're going to bring a full village fan activation with interactive entertainment from all family, moving all day from the family to the teenager to young adults, ultimately to party time. Saturday, we're going to transform the village into a full Parisian urban party as I was used to participate 20 years ago.
That's what you're looking forward to. You're looking forard to the drinks afterwards, not the actual football.
Not at all. Because in full confidence with you, when the competition is over, I'm heading home because I'm expected to be in Switzerland for a very important meeting the week after. So I'm just doing it's business trip always.
Yes.
Always, and we are on a mission. Back to your first question, the mission is to make sure that obviously football remain a part of the Olympic movement and the Olympic Games for a long time. So all of that comes together, and I'm sure that fan, players, and all the participants will see, since Limerick, where we head toward Paris, it's going to be a great celebration. And also, as a very 1%, being French and having the opportunity, because of our partners on site, to share that part of flag football momentum. As you might know, IFAF still has a legal seat in France. So sharing 1% with the community that is the birthplace of IFAF is also very very important. So all of that come together. It's going to be an amazing event, and we're going to have a great champions. Now we know that on the gridiron, every team needs to aim for qualifying for the World Championship with that new format coming in Düsseldorf, which clearly get the best of the best. It's very unique. So all in all, I think it will play well at every level, and we're going to have some extremely competitive game. That's for sure.
I mean, it really is fantastic to see how far and how fast flag football is growing on this side of the Atlantic, and obviously the fantastic work that IFAF are doing. And generally there has been a major kind of shift towards flag football and a focus on flag football, even from the NFL itself. I mean, you're getting major buy-in where the National Football League is kind of pushing flag football to kids to get them into the sport in a more safe and inclusive way. What do you think are some of the kind of the driving factors behind this kind of shift towards flag football in general?
Well, I think there's two things. There's one is a natural shift, because I can testify that football is a complicated sport. If you want to perform, if you want to reach if you want to be on a very high level, it's a sport that is difficult to understand. It's difficult to play, and so on and so on. Flag football has both. You have the elite part of it, which is what we witnessed in Limerick, and now in then the World Championship, and now in Paris, and so on. But it's also the football for all. For example, I give you a very funny personal moment just a couple of days ago, actually. Having a friend in Harold Cross, Dedicated Together Secondary School in Ireland, she received one of those boxes that the NFL sent out with flag football belt and football and so on. And immediately she called and said, "Wow, that's amazing! Now the kids can play like they see on TV. They can play like they see on social media. Hey, can you show up at school and talk at some points? Can you give us the local club contact? How can we link that together?" So that's how, ultimately, for the benefit of the kids of a special class, all of that power of NFL and IFAF coming together for the benefit and the growth of the flag takes core. And that's it's a very micro example.
It's a great example, though. I mean, I was at the launch of the flag football initiative in Ireland there a few weeks ago in a community school in Ireland, in Dublin here, and it was just the kids were so excited. to be able to play flag football. I know we had a former NFL player, F.A. Obada, on there, and the welcome that he
Yeah.
got was insane. So I don't think this is a phase. I think this is going to be a lasting thing where young kids, teenagers get into flag football, and then that's their gateway to the sport. They start watching the sport on a weekly basis, and then when they become old enough, they start playing kiddie football, perhaps, and the cycle continues.
And flag and tackle both got along well together very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a one or the other.
No.
I mean, everybody. It's just a matter of elite sports and then sports for everybody. Like flag is football for all.
Mm.
Everybody can play, and you can do both. You can do just tackle, just flag. You can do tackle and flag. You can. It's not one against the other.
No.
We also witnessed some growth in tackle. Like we had for the first time, we had a 4-team tournament in Central America. We have a very important cycle in European Championship tackle. The final is a couple of months away. It will be in Germany with a final 4-team. We had challenges happening between New Zealand and Australia again. Like they haven't played tackle football for a while, so it's just a matter of obviously, when you want to start a program, buying 50 or 60 helmet shoulder pads and having some long numbers or big number teams and so on, it's difficult to put together.
Mm.
Therefore, flag football takes football and takes pairs of sneakers, and you can go to play. It's 5-on-5. It's inclusive, and you have the men and women element, the co-head element. Like both are a very great story to put together.
And it's not just flag football that we're seeing growing in recent months and years. I mean, it's the American football in general is getting a lot more visibility on this side. I mean, it's always been there. There's always been teams playing in Central European countries, the UK. It's massive on this side of the Atlantic in terms of the grassroots level. But I think the wider audience now is getting more involved. Watching games, going to games. The Dublin game is sold out. The college football game there recently in August was completely sold out. So, global popularity of American football has jumped. What sort of role has IFAF played in this kind of growth and promotion of American football? And, has it made your job more complicated or more interesting with the global rise of American football now?
I think that's we're just a part of we're part of that great team with the NFL. Like you have picture that comes together the smallest and youngest international federation of the movement with the youngest president of the International Olympic movement with arguably the most powerful and biggest sports league in the world.
Mm.
What do they have in common? What do they have in common is that fandom and participation growth in tandem together. Like it's a matter of growing the fandom, growing the popularity of the sports. Typically makes sense if people also play the sports and they build an emotional link with the sports, because that brings them the joy to play, very hard as a team trying to win the European Championship. But it can also bring you the fact to come with your family.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, I'm spending a few time with kids club in my hometown in Austria, for example. So all of those emotions, like I was with my father, just spending time in the field as well. So, and you can do that with a jersey of the Minnesota Vikings or the Pittsburgh Steelers. You can do that if you are a great player. Imagine if you are, for example, let's say, Helen Smith, captain of Trojan, Irish captain of the Trojan team and captain of Team Ireland. Well, if you compete at the highest level, you might cross path with Justin Jefferson at the games.
Mm-hmm.
For example. So, all of that comes together into fandom participation. IFAF is the regulator of the sports. Our job is to work with our 74 member nation to work on growing the sports, teaching coaches, teaching referees, organizing international competition, the rules of the game. Like all of that is a very, very long-term activities. So the NFL brings in, the stardom, the content caption, the star power, and so on. So when you have the IF, the regulator, the offensive lineman of the sports, that teams up very well with the best receiver, quarterback, and running back of the game, you have the best team in the world. And that's why we try to embody it.
obviously we're seeing this big surge in American football now, popularity, but how do you keep that momentum going in the future? How do you, like, what initiatives do IFAF perhaps have planned to keep capitalizing on that, I suppose, prevent it from tapering off to a certain extent?
Well, it's only it's still the beginning of that
Mm,
momentum.
yeah.
Obviously, as everybody know, we will look forward Brisbane in 32. We said
Mm,
that LA was not a one and done. We are looking for a very new format of the World Championship in Düsseldorf next year with the top teams, and we're going to be very creative in terms of broadcast, in terms of technology, in terms of event presentation. Like if you had the vibes of volleyball in Paris with that great Eiffel Tower stadium and so on, well, this is where we are going. We are a Gen Z sports. We are the pinnacle of sports and entertainment. When you bring together a sport that is fun, that is fast, that is creative, that is spectacular, that is action first, with the star power of the NFL, with the foundation of a solid community of member nation all over the world, you can do great things. And the World Championship 26, we're going to look at LA 28, Brisbane 32. We look at Continental Games. We can look at so many things up and running. So important to understand that, first of all, the momentum that we started to launch 5 years ago is still growing up and running. This is not a one and done. This is a long-term progress, and the expansion of the National Football League in new markets,
mm,
our collaboration into the Pacific, into Africa, into South America, is all of that coming together to promise to be still a great future. And flag is really the center part of all of those actions. So still a lot of things going on. I don't know if obviously we're going to be able to catch up with everything, but the future is very bright for our sports. We are the sports of the next generation. We
mm.
are the international federation of the next generation, and we bring on the wider sports movement a partnership with a league that is a league by their own by themselves. They have their own dimension somehow, and we use that to super boost one sport, which is flag football.
Obviously, it's a big few months coming up for American football in Europe, starting next weekend with the much anticipated NFL game in Dublin between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Minnesota Vikings. Pierre, what was your reaction when you first got the news that the game in Dublin was confirmed?
I was like, finally, right? I think you guys were expecting for a while, and obviously great partnership with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and a lot of work have been done by that great franchise in the market. It's an historical relationship between the team and the fan in Ireland, and all the football fan in Ireland for so many years have been fantastic over the media, over the college game, and so on, and having that really great game coming up with the Vikings. It's gonna be a momentum. Fan will have at heart to demonstrate to the world that football belongs to Ireland as well, and that's it's gonna be great. So I'm sure it's gonna be a very warm and party atmosphere, and it's gonna be a day to remember, a first one and we hope for many to come.
Hopefully, more NFL games in Dublin down the line. Pierre, how do you see the NFL fan base continuing to grow in Europe? What needs to be done? I mean, obviously it's massive, but it's only getting bigger and bigger. And we're seeing more and more European games coming down the line. Where's next? Where can you see the next kind of NFL game on this side of in Europe being?
Well, that's a question for our colleague and Henry at the office. But I think from my point of view, being obviously French and in the position I am, I think that's the games are always some sort of mini Super Bowl that you bring abroad,
Mm.
right? It's always a great celebration, but there's a lot of things that can be done all year long. And when you look at the participation of an investment from some team into growing market, obviously in Italy or in France, in Eastern Europe. And I mean, I come from Austria. The Patriots doing a great deal with the Austrian Federation, for example. The Patriots built a facility in Düsseldorf for flag football. Like now we have so many opportunities. The game is one thing, but what about the culture? What about broadcast? What about merch? What about innovative partnership? And all of that can translate also to, as I mentioned before, how do you play the game? The answer is everybody and every kid in the world can play with flag football being the perfect pinnacle for that. And then moving on to potentially tackle or flag. That's not a big deal. So the next one is participation, and I mean the actual one, and keep to continue to grow is the participation.
Yeah, as part of the growth as well, it was announced during the week that we
Yeah.
have officially got an NFL broadcast on Irish television for the first time, which is really, really great for fans here. How important is it for growing fans in the individual markets to have to have domestic broadcasters showing the games? And do you think it's an indicator of the increasing demand for NFL content in Europe?
It is, and not just for broadcast. Look at social media, looking at clip, looking at highlights, looking at what is going on before the game, in the game, behind the game. Like there's so many opportunity. It's again, it's a content factory at every level. It is important to have broadcast, but again, this is more an NFL related opportunity. We are not really that's not our in our list of things to do, if that makes sense. So happy for you to reach out to our friends from the NFL in terms of broadcast. But I think every year is a record breaking edition in terms of broadcast. I think the many free to air in the UK, in Ireland, in France, in Italy, in Germany. Like we can see the sports everywhere now, and everywhere you can see the NFL, you can see flag, which is an amazing thing as well.
So looking to the future now, Pierre, before we kind of wrap things up, in Europe, I'll see you hopefully in Dublin for a few pints next weekend, Pierre. All the best. Take care.
Thank you, Jimmy. Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.